Even if you write a short essay, even if you write a thesis, anything you write, you can always publish everything you write onto your own blog quickly and easily. And that way it becomes public record. And anytime you publish something on the internet, it goes towards your support for being a professor. All right. So yeah, that's a question here about when can you become an assistant professor or professor? Just get your own blog and publish your own work. Through your blog, you'll have links, and you click on the link, and all of a sudden it'll pop up a PDF. Okay, so I see here that we'll go through. Okay, so I can see your. Okay, so anything you want to see in Excel, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you something here. Let's see. I'm just going to throw down some numbers. Okay, throw down some numbers. I'm going to drag my mouse over those, come up here, and I'm going to align them in the center of the box so they're easier to see. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go average. And then it's going to take, I'm going to drag over that whole line of numbers. So as you can see, I'm just putting in that little formula, average, and there's the average. And another formula you can use is count. And I'll just drag over the whole area. And you'll see there are 17 numbers that I wrote down there. And now we're going to take that one step further and say count if. So first it's asking to see the range. So I'm going to grab the range. And then as you can see in this little prompt, it's saying comma, comma, and I'll say 4. So basically the formula is saying count if you find a number 4 in that range. So we do that, and we'll see there are 5 times that the number 4 appears in that range. Okay, that's the count if. And then let's say I want to just grab this whole thing, and I come up here to conditional formatting. And I'll put a new rule, conditional formatting, and there's this format only unique or duplicate values. So I'm going to click on that. So this is going to look for duplicate values. So I'm going to come into here and say, okay, anything that you find duplicated, put into the color red. Press OK. Oh, as we can see, they're all duplicated. So I'm going to have to change this up a little bit. Let's see here. So as we can see, I'm just trying to get the number 5 to be duplicated. There. So I changed all the numbers, and now you can see that it's saying, okay, the number 5 is duplicated in these. So I was able to change the numbers, but the conditional formatting still stays the same. Okay, I still don't see the presenter coming up yet. Okay, so you can see that. And you can see as I change the numbers, the average changed. We still have 17 numbers, but now the number 4 only occurs once. You can see that down here. Okay. Any questions so far? No. Um, let's do a little statistics. I'm going to have to move some things around here so I can see better. Okay. There. Okay, now we're going to do a little statistics. So I come up here to data in the ribbon menu up here. I click on data and I come all the way over here to um, data analysis. Click on data analysis. And we'll just do the very basic one. And so it gives you a list of tools that you can use for data analysis. We're going to do descriptive statistics. This is actually a very easy one that you can do for any kind of numbers or just data that you have. It'll just describe it. So we'll grab the input range. Once again, we'll just grab our numbers, whatever they are, and it's grouped by columns. Yes, it's in a column. And labels in the first row? No, there's no labels, so I won't check that box. And then I'll just do an output range. And I'll just put in that box up there, E2. So the results are going to pop up into that box E2. And that's good to go. We don't need any more on that. So I'll just click OK. Whoop. Please choose at least one statistical option. Okay. One statistical option. Let's see. Summary statistics. Let's grab summary statistics. There. And then the information is kind of blocked into those columns. So what I'm going to do is come up here on that line between the columns and double click. And then that moves it out so you can see everything in that column. And then this one I'll just move manually. Just drag it over. And I don't like these numbers with a lot of decimal places. So I'll just grab those, come over to home, and then there's a little move the decimal place over. I just click on that until I say, okay, 2 decimal places. That looks good. Okay, so here we have the mean, 3.65, is actually the mean over here, this average that we did before. See how it's 3.65, 3.65? So the mean is just the average. And that's the formula if you just want the average. And then the standard error is right here. Whoops. Standard error is 3.84. And what is the standard error? The standard error is you have variation in these numbers over here. From all these numbers over here, you have variation. And 60% of that variation will occur within 3.84 numbers of the average mean. So what that's basically saying is, let me come over here and write this out. Whoa. There. I'm going to say this is equal to 3.65 minus 3.84. And then this is going to be equal to the mean average plus the standard error. So this is trying to tell us that 60% of the numbers would most likely fall between 9.81 and 17.49. Now, most of the numbers don't even fall between 9. I don't think there's any numbers between that. But that's trying to show you that there is somewhat of a consistent value to the standard error. Oh, wait a second. Let me do this again. Standard deviation. Let me do this again. So as you can see up here, I'm going to come up here on the formula and click on it. And then that shows me what cells are being used in the formula. And I'm just going to drag this one down from standard error to standard deviation. See that? Okay, now with the standard deviation, 60% of the numbers will occur between -2 and 29.48. And that makes more sense because when you look over here, how many of these numbers actually occur between -2 and 29? I guess we could count them, but let's go ahead and do a count if, take the range, and this is where it gets complicated. Between, oh, I don't even know if I know how to do this one. This is going to be tricky. I'm trying to say it's between -2 and 29. No, I don't know how to do this one. But let's see if I get lucky. No. That's something I have never learned how to do. I'm trying to figure out how to do it in this moment right now, but I've never figured out how to do that. You have to go into google.com and ask them how to count numbers between certain numbers. So there is a way to do this though. Count if, take the range, see if I can remember, greater than -2. See if we get that. No, there's a certain thing I'm missing. This is going to take a little bit of experimentation. I'm going to put it in quotation marks. There we go. So all of the numbers are above -2. Now we come up here and say, okay, count if, take the range again, comma, quotation marks. Now we're going to say less than 29 point, what is it? 48. Oh, forgot a quotation mark there. So now we have 14. So if we want to know the number of numbers between -2 and 29, now we just come in here and say, okay, well, we can kind of figure this out. We know there's 17 numbers above -2, and there's 14 numbers below below 29. So we know all of the numbers are above -2, which this ultimately means is there are, see the difference? 17 minus 14 will be 3. So there's 3 numbers that are not between -2 and 29. But they're large numbers, right? 20, 33, 44, 55. And that's what takes this standard deviation so wide. Okay, so I'm going to come up here. I'm going to grab this, back up to conditional formatting, manage the rules, and I'm just going to take this where we're finding duplicates. I'm just going to delete this rule. So that way we can play with the numbers without looking at, now it's not trying to show us duplicated numbers. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to grab the 9 and the 10, see there? I'm just going to grab the 9 and the 10, and then this little bottom corner, I'm just going to drag it down And that's going to continue that series of 9, 10. So it should just say 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way down. See that? So I started off with the 9 and the 10, like that. And I said, okay, you can see the series there, 9, 10. Let's just continue that series all the way down. So it's counting by 1. Now let's say that there's a 7 here, right? And I grab 7, 9. So I'm saying, okay, 7 plus 2 is 9. So if I drag it down, the next number should be 11. See that? So now if I grab that 9 and the 11 and drag it down, it should start counting by 2s. And it does. Just these little tricks. So if you want to see it counting by 1s or counting by 3s, let's say we have one, let's start with 0 and 1. And you'll see we're counting by 5s. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab, I'm going to grab the 0 and the 5, and then come down here to that bottom corner, drag it down, and you'll see it starts counting all by 5s. So you don't have to sit there and write out 5, 10, 15, 20. If you know you're going by 5s, just do 0, 5, and then drag them down, and it'll put all the numbers in there for you. These are just the little tricks. Let's go back up here, make it 2 again. Bring it down. And then in here, I'm going to switch it down to, let's say 11. So 1. So in this part of the numbers, I'm just going to say count by 1. So I want the numbers a little tighter. And as you can see, none of the numbers changed over here in our descriptive statistics. So we're going to come back up to data. And do our descriptive statistics again. It should come out with there we go. So we have the same range, grouped by columns, output ranges to the same number, summary statistics. So we're doing the exact same criteria to get our descriptive statistics. So what's going to happen is this is going to read the new numbers that we just put in, and it's going to write over the descriptive statistics that we already did, because we're using that same output range of E2, which is that cell right up here. Push that in. Oh, output range will overwrite existing data. Press OK to overwrite data range. Yes, that's what we want to do. There. So once again, come up here and take down the decimal points. There. Now you can see that the standard deviation went from 15 down to 5. So that means now that there's a probability that 60% of these numbers that you see over here, 60% of these numbers will fall between 2 and 13. That's basically what the standard deviation is saying. That 60% of the numbers would fall between 2.85 and 13.97. And now our mean has changed. What was it before? 13 or 15? And now it's gone down to 8 because we took out those 44s and that 45 and that 33 and that 22. We lowered the numbers. So the mean average went down because we took those higher numbers and made them smaller. And as we can see now, if we look at the numbers, all of the numbers above -2, yeah, they're all above -2, and they're all below 29.48 now. So that means there's no numbers outside of -2 to 29. All right, let's see here. Let's see if there's any questions. Okay, no questions so far that I can see about the Excel. All right. Um, I'm gonna throw down some numbers here. 1, 3, 5, 4, 6, 7, 5, 8, 9, 6, 12, 11, 9, 15, 17. So I just threw down some numbers here. I'm going to grab these numbers, come up here to insert. You'll see up here next to the home button, insert, and you'll see charts. So I'm just going to grab this one here. Do I want all dots? Do I want the dots connected? Do I not want dots? See how I'm going through the different graphs and seeing what it can show me, what the graph is going to look like? And we'll go with these little curves around the dots. We'll go with that. And we don't need the chart title. So I'm just going to come over here. You'll see these little buttons off to the side. Click on there. I don't want the chart title, so I'm going to unclick that box. And now we don't have a chart title. But we're still going to keep the grid lines in the chart. And we're still going to keep the axes, which is the y-axes and the x-axes. We're still going to keep those. Okay. So now we have these numbers. I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Let's see. Reverend says there is a lot of statistical analysis. Computer packages are practically oriented. But I will move on. Okay. Yeah, I'm showing you how to do some statistics with Excel. Here are some formulas. Here we go. Equals and others are like average. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to grab these numbers. I'm just going to grab this line. See how I grab that line and they kind of highlighted the dots? I'll click off of it and you'll see it go away. I'll come back and click on a dot and now it's grabbed that whole line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click. So if you look at my screen, I'm right clicking. This is usually the left click. I'm right clicking on that dot. These are just little tricks I'm going to show you. And it gives you some things to do. I'm going to say add a trend line. Okay, let's add a trend line. So we can see a trend line there. That's the way the numbers are showing. So if you have like statistics that are gradually rising, you can show a trend line of how they're rising. So we're going to come down here. There's a little button down here for display equation on chart. There. So I can click on it and move it to where I want to on the chart. Did you see that? These are just little tricks. Well, maybe I want it there. Maybe I want the font a little bigger. Maybe I'd want the letters in purple. So you can play around with your graphs. We just put on a trend line equation. And I'm changing the color, the size. Maybe we use a different font. Comic Sans is sometimes a fun one to read. It's more, I don't know, pleasant to look at, I guess. Okay, so here we have an equation, right, for our trend line. I'm now going to come up here and do another data analysis. So I come up here to data, click on data analysis. And now we're going to come down here and do looking for the linear regression. So I'm going to click on regression this time. Last time we did descriptive statistics. Click. Oh, we need our Y input range. That would be this. But we don't have an X input range yet. Let's see if we can get by without it. Let's say our constant is 0. No, the constant is 0 is basically saying that you want a where the line is going to cross the y-axis is going to be at 0. We don't want to say that. But yeah, let's say the confidence level 95. Output range is going to be down here. So I'm just going to click on that cell down there. I don't want to see any residuals yet. Line fits, standard residuals, no. Normal probability plots. No, I don't need to see any of those yet. You can click on those to play with it. But I'm just going to click on this and say, now is it going to ask for the X range? Yes. It's going to ask for the X range. All right. So we have to cancel out. Of this whole thing. Go back and put in our X range. Start with 1, 2. I'm going to center this just so it's easier to see. And then grab this line, take it down. So it's all counting by 1 now. That'll be our X range. All right, we have our X range. Now we'll come back to the regression. And now for our X range, we'll just grab all of those numbers. And now we have our X range. Now it should be ready to go. So now we have our output for a hold on a second. Now we have our output for a linear regression. You can grab these numbers again, come up here and say, that's just too many decimal points. I'm not that scientific. All I need right now is just to see maybe 2. Keep it simple. Let's see. So here we are. We're coming through. I think you can all see this. So we have our summary statistics, and we have our graph over here. So we have our R. Oh, this is something interesting. Come up here. I'm going to move this up a little bit. So once again, I'm going to come over here and grab that line and right-click it. Add a trend line. Did it just add another trend line? It did. So we're going to display the equation on the chart. But I'm going to have it now display the R squared value on the chart. Okay. So here we go. We just did another one. So once again, let's just make this a little easier to read. And okay, here we go. We have our equation again. 0.8725x minus the y-intercept. But now we have our R squared, 8654, which if you look down here now, in the linear regression summary output, our R squared, so you can see these numbers, our R squared, there it is, 8.7. And if I want to open this up so you can really see the number, you'll see it's the same number, 8654, 8654. So when you're doing your trend line for a linear regression, or for your numbers in the graph, you'll actually be able to see your R squared number just by clicking on a box and throwing it into the equation. Because that's going to pop up here in the linear regression anyways, and that's an important number. But we won't get into that right now because this is not a statistics class. All right, let's see what else we can find here. Let's see. Okay. This is what I want to show you. These coefficients that you see down here for the linear regression, the linear regression is actually going to give you a line. And as you can see right there, that's that trend line. And we have the equation for that right here. If you come down here and look, let's bring this back down to what, 3, 4 decimal points. There. You'll see that this intercept is the same intercept that of our trend line in the graph. And you'll see that the x variable coefficient on the x-axis, on the x values, that coefficient variable on the x values is the same one down here in this sophisticated summary output. And these are the only coefficients you need to create this trend line, this linear trend line, which you can get automatically just by clicking on the numbers in your graph, right-clicking it and pushing show me the equation. And there's your linear regression equation. And then you have these other numbers out here that you can work with as far as other numbers you may want to use for your statistics. But you can see that through Excel, if you just want to practice looking at some of your data for like a linear regression, just do a trend line and you'll see what that linear regression is all about. What's fun though, is if you want to see this, I'm going to show you something here. These are just little tricks. You can just watch and learn as we go. I'm just going to try and show you some little tricks to work with some statistics numbers. I'm trying to bring this down so it's easier to see without the grid line in the way. There. Okay, now let's see. Yeah, you're wondering if you can be receiving these in email. Well, we're actually recording this, so you'll be able to see a recording of this later. And Reverend wants to go through the online library. Well, let's stick with the Excel. Okay, so I'm going to grab this trend line again. Click on the trend line. Do you see how I did that? I can click on a dot and get the data. I can also click on the trend line itself. See how this little dot appears out here? Let me show you. I'm going to click on the trend line. A little circle is going to appear there at the end. See that? So now I have clicked on the trend line itself. I'm now going to right-click on the trend line, and I'm going to have it format my trend line. And now I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to think, okay, r squared of 86.54. That's pretty good, but not great. Let me see if I can improve that by clicking on a polynomial. Maybe this is actually going to be a polynomial. So let me click on polynomial, and you'll see that the r squared went from 86 now to 87. So that's not a great, huge improvement. So you can see there's a polynomial trend line and there's a linear trend line for this data. And they're both pretty much the same. So basically what we have here is a linear regression. Just simplify it down to say this looks pretty linear, okay? Now, what if we have, I'm going to cheat. This is equal to this one. I'm going to do a little hat squared plus 0.7 times x. So I'm doing a little quadratic equation showing that it's not linear. Plus 0.1. and make it not so steep. I'll come down and say 1.4. Wait. Let me go ahead and make this look correct. 1.4 times x squared plus 0.7. Well, we'll put in the 0.7. 0.7 times the x plus 0.1. Okay. So now I'm going to copy this down. And we now see that on our graph over here, we're going to have this nice little exponential curve. So now that we see our r squared is 9.4, but we kind of look at the data and think, it doesn't really look linear. So let's click on that trend line, format the trend line again. Hold on a second, there's some students that want to get in. I can't get them in. There we go. Okay, so we're going to say, okay, let's change this to a polynomial. And what I want you to look at is this r squared number. Is this r squared going to increase from 94 to get even higher? Higher means that the trend line is going to fit better with the data. Okay, so let's try a polynomial and see what happens. It went all the way up to 1. Well, that's interesting. If we come back here and look at our equation, we look at our coefficients that we wrote down for that data. One's a 1.4. Look at this. The 1.3886 is pretty close to the 1.4. And now we have a 0.947 is somewhat close to this 0.7 right here. And then it comes out with a -1. So it's close to the coefficients we put in. What could be the problem? Well, let's come back up here. As you can see, the 0 up here didn't have the equation. So I'm just going to grab this equation here, grab this bottom right corner, go up and fill in the equation into all of those. So now this cell here for x1 now has the equation. Now when we come over here, everything should line up perfectly. And yes, now the r squared is 1. We have 100% accuracy with our trend line to the data. And now we look up here and say 1.4 in our equation that we wrote down. And now we have 1.4 in our trend line equation. 0.7, yes, we put in a 0.7 and a +1 and a +1. Now that we have all of this data according to the equation and according to the x-axis, now this equation here of the trend line is now the exact equation that we used for the data. So these are just little tricks to kind of see how your data is coming together. And now you have an r squared of 1, which means basically the equation is perfect. Sometimes it'll be really close to perfect. You'll have a 0.9999975, something like that. But if it comes out 1 like this, you're very close to the actual equation for the data. And if we go back to our trend line, because I think we actually have 2 trend lines here. Yeah, we actually do have 2 trend lines, so I'll delete out the linear run. So I'm going to click on this. I have the trend line. Come back up here, and we'll take it back to a linear. And so the linear equation, this line, does not really fit well with the data, because you can see by a 0.94. So sometimes you just want to look at your data and say, okay, show me if this is maybe polynomial or maybe even exponential. Well, it's not really exponential. It's not exponential because I wrote a polynomial. I wrote a quadratic equation, which is a polynomial. So if we click on polynomial, now we get the exact equation with an r squared of 1. And you can try different trend lines. This is the idea. You can try different types of trend lines and watch this r value rise up. And if it rises up a lot, you know, okay, that's the type of data we have. We have a polynomial. So then what you'd want to do is you'd want to come down here and say, okay, this linear summary output doesn't really work. We should do a multiple regression. Excel doesn't do multiple regressions. But what I do is I have an add-in called real statistics, data analysis. So this is a free add-in that you can drop into Excel, and it's free, and it's very powerful, and more exact than Excel. A lot of people criticize Excel because it's not exact. Well, you drop in real statistics, and you just made Excel into a powerful statistics tool. So let's see what we can do here. Can we actually get, I don't know, we have enough time. I'll see if I can do this quickly enough. I'm going to grab these, come up here under the borders, say no borders. That'll take out all the borders. Okay, let me see if I can get, have enough time to do this. Come into my add-ins. Okay, I'm kind of lost here. Where are my add-ins? Did I just lose my add-ins? I just lost my add-ins. Oh, here they are. They popped back up. Data analysis tool. Okay, so if you get down real statistics, all of a sudden you're going to see all these options that you don't have with Excel. Frequency tables, step charts, matrix operations, color assignments, restore real statistics on add-ins ribbon. And then you go to others. You got all these multiple linear regression, weighted linear regression, LED linear regression, Deming regression, passive Bablock regression, on and on and on and on and on and on. You can do ANOVAs, many types of ANOVAs, nested ANOVAs. Times, you can do multivariables, MANOVAs, all the way down to confidence ellipses. Correlations, you have many options for correlations, and miscellaneous. You have your chi-squares, you have your non-parametric tests, multiple tests, splines, Gibbs. So you start to get all of these other analysis that you can do, and this is totally free. Goodness of fit is a great one if you're doing questionnaires and surveys. Now you can use your chi-squares and your goodness of fits to see how well your questionnaires are fitting to the data that you're expecting. And this is all free that you get with real statistics. You just download real statistics to your computer. Okay, so let's come up here into multiple linear regression. Let's see, polynomial regression. Let's try a polynomial regression, right? Okay, input range X. Yeah, we got that. We got the X. Input range Y. We got that. Give it to us. Column headings included with data? No. Alpha 0.05, that's the significance level that we're going for. Degree, let's just go out to 3. That should be enough. Find largest significant degree, output range E2. Let's see what we get. Override existing data? Yes. There we go. Okay, yeah, it wrote some of that down there. Okay, so here we have, once again, our multiple R, 1. It likes this. It's saying, yeah, as we can see down here in our data, the R squared is 1. So it's confirming that. Let me see if I can get all of this on the same screen for you to look at. Okay, I think I got it. So we have our polynomial regression summary report. It's basically what it is. And as we come down here to the coefficients, intercept 0.1. There it is. It found it. Degrees, 0.7. It found it for that second degree variable. Degree 2, 1.4. It found it and even gives statistical values for each of those coefficient variables for the polynomial equation of your data. So you have these coefficients right here in your polynomial data. You have your R squared. You can get that just from the trend line. But now you have all of this other information. So you just did a polynomial regression in Excel, which you couldn't do before without this real statistics add-in. So these are things I want to show you of how powerful you could actually create Excel. Excel is free. Most students have it. And then when you take real statistics and download real statistics, now you have a really powerful statistical tool. I know there's somebody up here in chat that said, well, you could just use R statistics. Yeah, you could use R statistics, but sometimes you have to pay for that. And the learning curve for R statistics is incredibly steep. There's so much you have to learn about the coding and how to put the data in there. And it's great, it's free, but it takes a lot of learning time to learn R statistics. But you go to Real Statistics, you download it, and it's so similar to statistics that it's easier to learn. And you get really powerful. You get the basic statistics and many advanced statistical analysis that you can get in R. It's easier to learn and it's free if you just do with the real statistics add-in into Excel. So, little lesson there, because I know everybody likes to spend less money and get good value. And I'm showing you with real statistics, you can get really good statistics free. And that's nothing better than free. So I think at this point, I'm going to stop sharing, come back up here, and I never saw our presenter never came, never showed up. So we went through a whole class of looking at Excel, doing count ifs, averages, looking at standard deviations, the descriptive statistics. Then we went into showing a simple linear regression just out of Excel. And we thought, oh gosh, it would be great if we could do a multiple regression, a polynomial regression. Oh, well, if we just download real statistics, we'll have that. And then we turn Excel into a powerful, powerful tool. So this is these are some things for everybody to learn. I don't see any more questions. I went really simple from showing you how to drag, like if you show 0, 1, and then how to drag that time series or that data series. So it just goes 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, or 0, 5, grab 0, 5, and then drag that down and it'll start counting by fives automatically. I showed you some simple tricks. And then I showed you how to change the decimal places. And then I showed you some more advanced things, taking out your data up into descriptive statistics and linear regressions. So, questions? Do we have any questions about any of this? Thank you for sharing your time and understanding and knowledge with us. Much appreciated. Yes. So, Ismail, we have a question. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And I still love you so much. It's more of, yeah,
I
it's
love
more
your
of,
questions. I love your
yeah,
questions.
thank you, sir. It's more of practical. I love you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my question is this, sir. How can I protect my Excel workbook or worksheet with a password?
How can you protect them with a password?
Yeah, yeah, my workbook and my worksheet with a password.
Okay, so let's go back into Excel. And let me bring this down because I have this thing up above that's not allowing me to lower this down. Come on. I can't get up to my okay. Let's see if I can find this. Uh, Page layout, draw, insert, view. I can't see all of my menu because I have this other menu from Zoom on top of it. Um, Insert, filter, sparklines, charts, illustrations, tables, draw, page layout, formulas, calculations. Does anybody know? Can anybody help me? Because I can't see all of my um, forecast, outline, text to columns, buttons, data type, stock, sorts, queries, refresh. I can't see all of what's going on here. Asma, that's great you say that. Thanks for using the recorded teaching. Yes. Um, Shoot. Let's just grab this, right click it and see if we get down here, filter, sort. I'm looking for the protect link, pick up, format cells, new comment, clear contents, general alignment protection. Here we go. Locked. So right now it's saying it's locked, hidden, but that's not giving me the option to password protect it. No, I don't. I can't. You're gonna have to go into Google and you check file menu. Is that where it is? Get add-ins, new info, save, print, share, export, publish, close, account,